Welcome. This is a presentation I delivered earlier this year on the Devi Mahatmyam, behind which is the story of Navratri, the Hindu celebration of the 9 forms of the goddess. I explore here briefly the Divine Mother as the embodiment and vision of wholeness, the force that imbues life and death with sacred order and provides the much sought after moksha, the liberation from suffering. The Devi Mahatmyam is, to that end, a yoga shastra. So to begin the presentation, I'm going to introduce the feeling and sense of the topic through a quick video. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed this dance video that captures this warrior feminine creative power. So it's a good time to speak of all things Devi and Divine Feminine Shakti, since it's the spring Navratri today, in fact. So I'm going to be exploring the vision of wholeness that the Devi presents in the Shruti, that is the Devi Mahatmyam, as well as in the Devi Gita, or Bhagavatam as it's known. And I'm going to be covering 3 aspects. Devi as Nirguna Brahman, without form and qualities, Devi as Saguna, with forms, which will relate back to her power as Maya, and finally the Devi as the ultimate goal of yoga. So the first exploration is the Devi as Nirguna Brahman. The root word of Devi is Div, meaning to glow and shine, and as the essence of creation, or Adi Parashakti, she is characterized in the Devi Mahatmyam as a self-illumined feminine being who reveals herself to ultimately be without form and gender. So she is the Nirguna Brahman, the supreme consciousness of reality. And we're going to be using terms from Advaita Vedanta, even though it's the Shakta traditions that wholeheartedly embrace the Divine Mother as Brahman and conceptualizes power as feminine. In Vedanta, Brahman has no gender and is non-dual. It's a state of being, and it houses a source of power that is called Maya. So in the Devi Sūkta, in speaking of her own sovereignty, she says, "My creativity is within the cosmic ocean and waters, where all beings appear and disappear. I pervade through all beings, and I have always touched the worlds with my own Maya." So if the Brahman is compared to the ocean, then the Devi is that point right at its center, where the waters are infinite, having no beginning or end. She pervades everything, and all forms that are created by her can be likened to a changing composition of the water like ice, which becomes a form through her Shakti of Maya. But this ice can also melt and disappear easily and appear back in its original watery state. And as she herself says in Vyas Devi Gita, all that is left is the truth, the consciousness, the bliss, the Satchit Anand of this cosmic ocean. Though she has the power of Maya, where all forms appear and disappear, the reality is still an undivided one that is non-dual. So we move on to the Devi as Saguna and her power of Maya. So the Devi Mahatmayam, roughly translated as the greatness of the goddess, covers 3 main episodes of her adventures, each of which involve a battle with demons, in which she is, of course, victorious. We're in a world of forms now, and all 3 sagas come to the same conclusion, that her power, also called Mahamaya, is unparalleled. And even the gods request her help when the demons get the upper hand and threaten the cosmic order due to their ego or pride, the base emotions that keep one in a state of delusional sleep, as it were. So the first story of the demons, Madhu and Ketava, show that Mahamaya has 2 natures, Avidya Maya and Vidya Maya. In this story, Brahma is sitting on a lotus that stems from Vishnu's navel and is being terrorized by the two demons. He must praise the Devi to wake Vishnu up from his sleep, or else face being destroyed. It is the Mahamaya in the form of the goddess Yoganidra who causes his deep sleep in the first place. Vishnu's sleep can be likened to avidya maya, where one is forced into inertia, delusion, or tamas. And when the Devi wakes him up in this story, that becomes the Vidya Maya, the liberating light of self-knowledge and true agency. So here the gods are in the total grasp of the Devi, whose essence is rooted in both the nirguna, unperceivable aspect of Brahman and the saguna aspect of form. All the gods are dependent on her for their source of existence, yet she is independent, both appearing as separate from her creation and yet participating in it. For example, taking on the form of Yogamaya, as we've just seen in Vishnu's story. As well as playfully conversing with Kali as Durga now in the final portion of the Mahatmyam when they battle the final army together. Brahman then is a self-aware intelligence who embodies the world through the Shakti of Maya. A great image to demonstrate this is Durga as Devi or Para Brahman Swarupini, the very form of Brahman. This can be found in the Devi Gita, which comes later in time compared to the Mahatmyam. Like Krishna, who reveals his ultimate form to Arjuna on the battlefield in the Bhagavad Gita, the Devi also demonstrates her all-powerful Vishwarup, the universal form, at the request of the Devas. The following is a narration of her omniscience. She has thousands of heads, eyes, and feet. Her entire body blazes with fierce, destructive flames, and her teeth make horrible grinding noises. Her eyes burn with flames brighter than 1,000,000 suns, and the gods tremble as they see her consume the universe. So what the gods see is a frightening form causing them to tremble, pleading for her to return to a more gentle form. Here she is depicted as an ever-expanding consciousness that is moving towards dissolution, towards reabsorbing the time-space reality. The point is that as a superconscious being, she veils even the gods' perception of reality, using Maya as her Shakti of self-concealment to create her forms which exist alongside her nirguna state. Since the gods are terrified here of her engulfing presence and even request her help in the Devi Mahatmayam to fight the buffalo-headed demon Mahishasura in the second major battle of the epic, we can clearly see that as Para Brahman Swarupini, she is the underlying stability of the Devtas, including Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So moving on to the final point, the Devi as the ultimate goal of yoga. Both Brahman and Maya represent themselves as a unity consciousness, coexisting as the very framework of the gods and their worlds, of whose sovereign intelligence and gatekeeper is the Devi. There's a verse in the Ratri Sūkta that demonstrates this idea, and the meaning of this verse is Om, the goddess of the entire universe who supports all worlds, who is the underlying cause behind the continuance of existence as well as the withdrawing of creation, who is the goddess with unparalleled tejas and is the yoga nidra of Vishnu. Even in the Mahatmyam, in all three major battles, she is seen as the power that causes both the avidya maya of the demons and the vidya maya, liberating them from their delusions of grandeur. And that I mean, she frees them from the time-bound body by killing them by the sword, usually piercing or severing the head, which is a metaphor for dispelling ignorance and receiving the illuminating knowledge of reality, or moksha, which comes through the intellect, the higher mind. The goal of yoga is to remember and experience the original state of oneness, to unite the jivatma with the world's soul. So if the Devi is the Brahman, then contemplating on this divinity and wholeness would support the awakening of the sleeping consciousness and dispel the Mahamaya, the limitations and false perceptions formed in the mind. This is a metaphor underlying the battles between Durga and the onslaught of the demons, who represent the Chitta Vrittis, which ultimately arise out of the three gunas, Rajas, Sattva and Tamas. In the fight, in the Mahatmyam, each of the fights teach something, the need to embody the higher quality of a guna in order to transcend it. For example, Mahishasura employs an egoic, rajasic quality, a lower level of passion and anger, whereas Durga uses her righteous rage, a higher divine quality of rajas, which serves to protect the world order. So to come to the conclusion then, the Devi incarnates to maintain and uphold the flow of the universe, whose very existence, very essence is the three gunas. Each succeeding battle in the Mahatmyam shows the journey one must take from tamas, rajas and sattva to attain a state of harmony and equilibrium in the mind. When the Mahatmyam itself is chanted, recited and embodied, there begins the journey of yoga, of awakening from the spell of avidya maya. Since these are maha mantras, cosmically organized divine sounds that direct the higher quality of gunas towards the flow of the superconscious state, the nirguna Brahman.
When we are yoked with the Devi in this way, with knowledge that liberates us from all forms, we discover Brahman, the ultimate reality.